The leaders in BBL SuperCoach are incoming. Running in off the back fence to give you the ultimate insight to help you dominate your mates and climb up in the rankings. You're now listening to the Insight BBL Show with your hosts, Braino and Horse.
G'day guys, welcome back to the Insight BBL Show. We're mid-round at the moment, mid-game I should say. We've got 3 games and a bit to look at, and we're going to be going through everything that's happened this week, and we've got plenty coming up leading into round 2 to preview. Horse, how's things, mate? How's your first round been so far?
Not as good as yours, because happy Matt Short Day fell a bit flat yesterday, but Daniel Sams, take a bow. He scored the most amount of runs ever in an over last night to get the Thunder home.
Very impressive, wasn't it? Nice little finish from Daniel Sams. But there's been some pretty good cricket being played all week, as we expected, obviously, in round 1. It's just nice to have some cricket back on the TV, but also nice to get a few of our calls that we've been talking about for the last 6 weeks actually kind of come to fruition this week. A few of our starting picks have been really nice and have played quite well, and it's nice to see. So we've got a lot of that to cover. We'll basically on the show tonight, what we'll do is we'll cover all of the news and everything that's happened over the last week. And then we'll start to preview round 2, and we'll look at the doubles. We'll look at the schedule. We'll look at the games that are being played, the predicted 11s, and a ton more. And if you haven't yet, hit subscribe, hit like, follow, review, do all of those things to support the show. We would really appreciate that. And you want to make sure you don't miss another live show coming into the middle of the season, because we're going to be going live on either the second last or the last night of each round to bring you everything you need to know to win your leagues and beat your mates. Horse, how can people get involved in the Patreon? Because it seems like everybody in there is doing pretty well at the moment.
Yeah, there's a few people that are absolutely flying, and I'm a little envious of their teams. But down below in the description, there will be a link. You click that link, BBL SuperCoach, gets right into it, and it's for free. I mean, if you'd like to pay $6 a month and get the absolute insight as to what Braino and I are doing, who we're bringing in, who we're trading out, and all the little bits and pieces to help elevate your game, then it is a cup of coffee a month it'll cost you. But initially, it is free to join if you just want to get in, have a bit of a look around and see whether it is for you or not.
And we're doing a wrap-up after every game. So basically the next day after a game, you're going to get a big write-up on what we saw, who's hot, who's not, what are the questions that we're looking at or the players that we're looking at over the next week. In terms of their roles. So lots of info in there, guys. Jump on in for free or become a member and get involved in the exclusive content. And of course, if you haven't joined the free league yet, the code is 650202. I'll repeat it and I'll pop it up on the screen. 650202 is the code. If you haven't joined yet, we can still go in the running. You can still join. We're not going to be closing this one off until the end of round 4. So you've still got plenty of time, but you want to make sure if you've had a red hot start and you're in the running, you potentially could be winning some stuff every single week. And, there's some standard squeeze stuff to win. There's also a SuperCoach Champions ring for the winner.
Do you know what, Braino? With that unlimited league, I'm going to throw it out that whoever the 1,000th person is that joins our league, I'm going to send them a standard squeeze pack thanks to the guys at the standard squeeze.
Oh, 1,000th person. All right. So we're at 842 at the moment. So you got to tell 158, 157 mates to join, and then make sure you're the 158th. But I like it. Maybe what we'll do is we'll ramp up the prize for the winner in that league if we hit that 1,000 as well.
Yep.
So 158 to go. Very easy to do, I think. We've got Corey Blackledge in the chat, 852. He's on with 8 to go, including 4 on tonight, which is great. Well, what else have we got? We've got Jasper giving us game updates. That's even better because I can't have the game on at the same time as this.
Can I just say a little bit about those two lads? So Corey, he came across to us at about round 11 last year and asked for our help in AFL SuperCoach when he was sitting 60,000 and he ended up climbing 30,000 spots. So he's definitely on the right track and getting his SuperCoach knowledge right underneath his belt. And with 852, with 8 to go, he could be ending up on a really nice score. But Jasper just returned from Italy after representing Australia in tennis. So Jasper, bloody legend. Well, I've been following you, mate. Congratulations and good work over there. Keep it up, mate.
Good on you, Jasper. I'd love to see some elite athletes in the chat. Love to hear it. And we've got Paul and Global on as well. G'day, guys. Thanks for joining us. Now, like I mentioned earlier on the show, we'll go through news and everything that's happened, everything that you need to know behind the scenes, what not on the field. We'll have a chat about that. We'll preview each game ahead of round 2 as well as talk about what we've taken and what we've learnt from round 1 so far. We'll dive into the ownership of where things have finished up as well and give you our opinion on which players you need to be targeting for next week's doubles. We'll give you our game day squad of the round as we do every single round. For those of you that aren't on game day, we'll give you info on how you can get involved. And we'll talk VC and C options and loopholes and stuff at the end of the show as well. G'day, Scorched Earth. Thanks for joining us, mate. Horse, we probably should get into this news, shouldn't we?
Have to.
It's time for some news from around the league.
And the news, the breaking news, is brought to you by Ryan from Astute Newstead. For those of you that have rates above 6.2%, maybe you want to save some money, maybe you want to get into the home market, you want to buy your first home, or you want to renovate, or you just want to save some coin. Then you can hit Ryan up from Astute Newstead for a no-obligation, free consult, won't cost you a thing. He'll give you an idea of what you need to do moving forward to save that money or get into that first home, or move and get into your dream home. So hit him up. His link is in the description below. Let him know that we sent you and he'll look after you. Now, in terms of news, mate, Aaron Hardy still very unlikely at this point in time to be travelling or on the road trip for Perth this round, which is a big blow for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And with those thinking that Inglis should be back, I'd probably temper your expectations a little bit. You've got the lowdown on Travis Head and his groin injury.
Yeah, it's tricky because there's two different sides to this. Like initially we saw Head struggling in the test with a groin or a quad. I think it ended up being a quad. And then Paddy Cummins has come out in the press conference basically saying Heady will be fine for Melbourne. So I know that there will be, though, there's always going to be that player as that backup that's going to be held within the squad just in case he isn't good to get up and go. And that'll be Josh Inglis, considering he's been the one held back, which is a concern, unfortunately, coming into Perth's double because that's when you want him. So, temper your expectations there on Josh Inglis, unfortunately. Now, Maxi, it sounds like Maxi's going to be good to go for game 1 of round 2. Yep. Obviously, Melbourne Stars are only on a single, but he came out in the coverage for 7 tonight pre-game and basically said, yeah, I'll be good for Friday against the Strikers. So good news for the Stars, good news for SuperCoach. Hopefully he has a stinker in round 2 and drop some coins so we can pick him up nice and cheap on their double.
Spot
on. What's going on with Bo Webster, mate? Because from what we saw the other night, and we'll dive into the games and talk a bit more about that, but I'll tell you what, there's major concerns there with his role.
It's amazing how much pull Cricket Australia have with what a player can and can't do at a representative level or at a national level, not international. With Bo Webster, he is striking at over 150 tonight, so he will gain some extra bonus points with strike rate, and he's currently on 23 not out now. But moving forward, Hazelwood's injury, that looks a bit serious. So he's already been ruled out for the India series, I believe. So we've got Scotty Boland, who's going to come in. But then does that mean Doggett is on standby as the bowler, or are they going to bring in an all-rounder like Bo Webster to be on standby, given that he can bowl pace, he can bowl offies, and he's in as good a form as anyone with a stick in Australia, really?
I personally think that Bo Webster is the Mitch Marsh cover. I don't think he's anything more than that. So if Mitch Marsh is good to go, well, hopefully we'll see Bo Webster. But it looks like his role is being restricted by Cricket Australia. They come out on the commentary. I think Mike Hussey said after the game started in game 1 that he was told that he couldn't bowl that night in game 1. So, yeah, there's every chance that could happen again tonight. It'll be a pretty close watch to see if he gets the ball in hand tonight. But he's still batting at 6. I don't love a guy that's going to bat at 6 and not really get too many overs with the ball in hand. So there's big concern there. But I think it's going to be Sean Abbott, the one that potentially loses out there in that situation, because Scott Boland goes into the test squad. Sean Abbott's probably next in line, then Brendan Doggett. So I would imagine that Sean Abbott gets held within the squad and maybe Doggett gets held for half of the round or something like that. Considering there's a double for the Strikers here next week too. There's so many question marks around Doggett, around Abbott, that I just don't know whether I'd go with either of those guys now. We told everybody in the Patreon based on that news to probably fade Doggett, get away from Doggett not being 100% certain on next week. So, that's probably the way that I would go. Hopefully not too many people got caught on him or hopefully he's not retained in the squad and everybody wins. But, yeah, Jordan Buckingham, he's an interesting one as well. If Doggett doesn't get up, because there's a lot of moving pieces over there with the Fabian Allen injury, mate. That hamstring tear looked pretty high up close to the glute. You know, as people who have both done multiple hamstrings, it's not good, is it?
No, the old pig string, it's something that, hurt me towards the latter stages of my playing career, both in cricket, basketball, footy, whatever you want to play. But Fabian Allen, as soon as you see someone grab higher up on the leg, when you're grabbing at the bottom of your butt cheek or your glute, you know that it's a major tear or it's a tendon injury. So we're not talking, your lower grade injuries. This is at minimum for me, 4 to 6 weeks, which would rule him out for the majority of the tournament.
That's if I had to guess. I'm not a physio, but if I had to guess, I'd be with you. I think that he's going to be hard done by to see much more BBL this year, unfortunately, based on that. Like, I've done hammies and I can still kind of walk okay and I don't have to limp that much. That's usually grade 1, grade 2, but he could barely put weight on that leg.
That's right.
So, yeah, it doesn't look good for Fabian Allen, which then creates more questions that we'll talk about tonight when we're talking about the strikers ahead of their double. Spencer Johnson, we're not quite sure where he's at for round 2. Obviously missed round 1, but from what I've heard was touch and go for round 1, and Cricket Australia had their say and said they'd rather him have a little bit more time to recover, Horse. Do you see him getting up for round 2, or do you think there's still a bit of risk there? Because I know a few people that took him as a loophole.
I think he rests round 2, and I think we'll see him for the round 3 double.
Okay. I'm going to say he's back. I'm going to say he plays round 2. That's and I don't really have anything backing this, just off the back of the news that he had only just missed this round, having an extra few days under his belt. I feel like he could be all right.
Do you think that tonight's bowling performance by Brisbane may play a factor as to whether they get him back quicker?
I just think that he's going to be picked when he's able to be picked, regardless of circumstance. I think he's their best player. So they're not going to sit him just for the sake of sitting him. Depending on the outcome of tonight, if they lose, they're definitely going to need to try and play him. So for sure. We've just seen Tom Curran get out there bowled by Xavier Bartlett as well, for those of you following. 3 off 4 balls for Tom Curran. So hopefully he gets some points for us PCs out there.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. What else have we got, mate? Brendan Doggett, we spoke about him a little bit. Yep. Hussain, Pope and Bethel. Now, Bethel's going to be playing the second game for the Renegades this round, and he would have been the ultimate loophole option knowing that he was going to play next week. But unfortunately now, for those of you who stuck with Hassan Khan, for anybody who listens to us, you probably didn't. Our Patreon members definitely didn't. We jumped off when we heard that Bethel was going to be back for game 2. But then we've also got Ollie Pope and Akil Hussain joining their squads for the Sixers and the Strikers. So all the internationals are pretty much here now. And now we'll just wait for the ILT20 Horse to take them away.
I want people to keep a keen eye on Akil Hussain too. Yes, he's a little bit more expensive, but when the Sixers round 4 double, I believe it is, rolls around, he's someone that you're definitely going to want to target. His last T20 that he played for the West Indies, 3 for 12 off 4 overs.
Very good. All right, good to know. I think he is going to, and the Sixers lineup in general is going to be a very big talking point, isn't it, tonight? Because there are a couple of very relevant injuries there in Hayden Kerr, who went off with what looked like a hammy. And then we've also got Daniel Hughes' elbow re-injured, trying to take that catch or stop that ball. So, yeah, a couple of moving parts there. So we'll talk about who we think are going to replace those guys very soon. But, Horse, let's have a little bit of a rewind and have a chat about the round that's just gone. Sure. Well, we were kind of right on the Stars in round 1. At the moment, based on what we've seen so far, are you convinced? Are you sold on the Stars being better? Or do you think that they're frauds like we said the other night?
No, I think they're still frauds. You see tonight, Brisbane has a depleted bowling attack, and they've still made their 160-odd that they've got look really hard. Like Sammy Harper, for example, he looked like Chris Martin with the bat only a couple of days ago, and today he looks like AB de Villiers. Like, it's incredible that, it's cricket. A couple of days can do such a thing. Joe Clark, 0 off 9 balls in game 1, then comes out and fires, 27 off 18 or whatever it was tonight. I still don't think that they've got all the pieces to be able to contend this year, and therefore won't make the top 4.
Yeah, he got 32 off 23 in the end, and Harbour 46 off 36. But it did still look a little scratchy. But I did put it on X. Like, it's all about intent as a batsman. And I think when we look at game one, they were trying to just get past Richo. They were trying to see off the openers because they know how powerful and how good these Perth Scorchers bowlers are. They were so timid in their approach. They didn't want to go at them at all. But you've got to fight fire with fire in situations like that. You can't be timid against world-class bowlers. Otherwise, you let them dictate terms.
That was clearly the message by the coach of the Stars, that they had to come out and they had to be positive. You saw Tommy Rogers' facial reaction when he got dismissed, caught behind off Bartlett, that he punched his bat straight away and threw his head in the air. You could see that he almost did against what the team had been trying to do and trying to be positive. So that was definite intent right from the start by the Stars.
100%. It was good to see. It's definitely what they need. Obviously, Stoinis came out and continued that on with 150 strike rate. So a cheeky little 51 or 46, I think he ends up with in this game. That takes him to 86 overall, I think, from memory. But Bo Webster still cracking away at 28 off 19 at the moment. So good signs from them. Now, obviously, with Webster, we spoke about him, his role being managed by Cricket Australia is a concern. I think I'm probably looking at jumping off him if I get an opportunity next round, just using that cash to then try and get to someone else. Hopefully he can salvage a little bit of this money tonight, and hopefully he can get a bowl, because if he gets a bowl, maybe I'll reconsider. But at the moment, he's set to fly out of nearly everybody's teams next round, I think.
It's got a break even of 103 for this game alone.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Maxwell, though, I guess the question becomes, what are we going to do? Like, let me give you two scenarios. He comes back, drops a little bit of cash, come into round 3, and we find out that he's bowling and he's all good. I think you have to have him. But let me ask you this. If he gets this hammy, they're trying to manage him coming into these Australian tournaments. Mm-hmm. They say, Maxi, you're going to play as a batsman only for the Stars this campaign. Are you still buying him?
No.
Yeah, neither. I'm pretty set on the fact that I'm adamant on role this year, not on player pedgree. Mm-hmm. I think, yes, we know that they can be great, and yes, we know Maxi can hurt you. But I think when Maxi's playing as a batsman only, we saw this with Matt Short last night, and I didn't want to bring the tears out too early, Horse, but when you get a good rock, as Lockie Ferguson delivered to Matt Short, you can get out and you get 7 points, and then that's it. And he was lucky that he bowled got a wicket and got a catch in the field. Otherwise, he would have ended on like sub 10. That's exactly what can happen with batsmen only, which is why we look for the player with the better role.
100%. Yep.
Mate, Renegades are looking good. They look dangerous. I think the one thing that I can take from the Renegades are that if two of these guys click in this top 4, I tell you what, they're going to put up 200 nearly every time they bat.
They're probably going to be the most, I know I'm a Renegade supporter, but probably the most exciting team to watch, because you don't know what Fraser McGurk's going to do. Seifert looked good the other night in a more of a tame role. Josh Brown, the Chief, came out and looked good. And then with the ball as well, like, they've got options everywhere. And I know they ended up losing the game in the end. Zampa's not going to bowl in the power play, you wouldn't have thought, again, unless they absolutely need a wicket. And that's why he bowled during that period. I think they've got a really solid team. And you're right, 200's not out of the question anytime they rock up.
Once Jake Fraser McGurk, and we spoke about this in the preseason, learns how to pace an innings and not just open his front leg and close his eyes and swing as hard as he can at every single ball, which still frustrates the living shit out of me. Once he learns that patience and that depth of role, he's going to be one of the best batsmen in the country. I have no doubt in my mind.
If he learns how to bat like Sammy Constas, great segue into who we're going to talk about next, he's going to be unstoppable.
Yeah, Sammy Constas was elite. He was outstanding.
He was brilliant.
I think he is I don't like using the word must-have in BBL SuperCoach. There's no such thing as a season keeper in BBL SuperCoach because you've got to attack the schedule. But I tell you what, this guy could be a guy you just keep in your team the whole time, at least up until round 6, round 7, after the Sydney Thunder double. Would you buy him next week, even though Sydney Thunder don't have a double until round 6?
Yes. He's going to have a negative break even and going to make you bulk cash.
I think negative 53 is the number he'll be walking into next week. If everyone remembers from last year, Mitch Swepson coming into round 1 with a negative 83 break even, that's a guy you just buy and you take the cash and you run. Then the priority or the thought will be, how do I get off him and claim this cash? You don't want him to then have a couple of bad knocks and lose all that money, which is exactly
right.
what happened to Mitch Swepson last year. So let's talk about, mate. But Perth, they look contenders even without their best in Inglis and Hardy. Good to see Ashton Turner back, luckily. But yeah, I mean, the only thing really that's going to be getting in the way of Perth next week is the weather potentially, Horse. You've done the deep dive, and we'll talk weather later. But there is a game there that we're going to have to think twice on. Luckily, it's their first.
Yeah, 100%, mate. But we will touch on that a little bit later on. I do want to ask you this, though. Adelaide, they'll improve. They've got a double next week. Shorten Overton to lead them back to the winner's circle?
Yes. I don't think I think they played pretty ordinarily last night and still nearly won. Daniel Sams basically clutched out of the jaws of defeat. So there's a bigger question here directed at me about what I'm going to do next week about Matt Short, because
I want to ask you this while you're talking about Matt Short.
Yeah. With
Fabian Allen gone, is there a chance that Short bowls more now?
Yeah, there is. That's my concern. I was more than happy to fade if he wasn't really going to bowl that much, and I think initially I was thinking that. And if Fabian Allen didn't get injured, I probably would have continued down that line. He only bowled 2 overs. If Fabian Allen wasn't, if he was available, he would have bowled that third. So I'm worried as a fader, as someone who is in the minority in the 40-odd% that don't own him. I'm very concerned for next week that he could bowl 3 to 4 overs a game now with Fabian Allen out of this team. So I am going to have a look next week. Luckily, we've got a couple of pretty juicy downgrade options. I'm going to have a look, and if I don't have to tear my team apart too much, I'll grab him. But if I do have to tear my team apart and ruin the structure of my team, I'll just fade him and close my eyes.
For sure.
So we'll see how we go. But Henry Thornton looked good. So he's probably the one quick that you can really rely on at the Thunder along with Overton, at the Strikers along with Overton, to be pretty reliable throughout the season. So definitely a guy you want to look at. And Sixers, mate, the last one, your boy, Jack Edwards, potentially bit of Jark's callous about him with the role that he had the other night, batting at 3, bowling. He's bowling 3 overs. He only didn't bowl the death because Hayden Kerr bowled it. Now Hayden Kerr's injured. There's a lot to like there. Do you get him now, just ahead of the double, or do you wait one more week?
Yeah, you should already have him. Don't be silly. Cash your pennies in. Bring him in.
Especially with now a risk of being held within the test squad too.
Mate, probably the wrong question to ask as the president of the Jack Edwards fan club.
It is. I have him. I'm very thankful to have him. I think his role's awesome. Now there's a couple of players that will come out of this team, and I'm interested to see whether they just lean into him at 3. Greg Shippard, the coach, said on the sideline, he said he was pretty keen on maybe seeing Jack Edwards as the number 3 replacement for Daniel Hughes if that injury is bad. So load up, wheels up, Jack Edwards. That Absolutely. Is what we've learnt from the past week. Now, obviously, we've got a fair bit to talk about leading into round 2, mate. So let's rip straight into that. And as always, the game previews are brought to you by the Standard Squeeze, helping you drink responsibly and conveniently. I'm sure those of us out there have dropped a glass bottle of spirits, or you've maybe started pouring a little bit too heavy and you've had to leave your car at a mate's place overnight or go and get it the next morning. There's nothing worse. So you can get your Standard Squeeze combo pack. It'll measure the perfect pour every single time so you know how much you've drank. And it's also made of food-grade quality plastic. So you can drop it as many times as you like, not that I recommend it. And you're not going to see glass all over the place. So you can use that code IFS15 to get 15% off at thestandardsqueeze.com. Now, we can't do the Standard Squeeze of the Week, Horse, this week. We're going to have to wait for the next stream because normally we end up being a week behind because there's no time between games or rounds for us to do this stuff. But do you want to touch on the weather first?
Yep, let's do it.
And now here's Ollie Williams with the weather forecast. Ollie?
It's going to rain.
Thanks, Ollie.
Thanks, Ollie.
Bit of rain. Not much, though. Maybe one relevant day of rain.
So let's talk about Adelaide Strikers versus Melbourne Stars in Adelaide. It is going to be nice. 32 degrees in Adelaide, Friday, 7:15 p.m. Adelaide normally dishes up a pretty good track as well, so that'll be nice viewing. Nice short boundaries on the sides of the wicket as well. Square leg, point, it's looking juicy for players like Matt Short, who are great off the back foot there. Hobart Hurricanes, though, Braino, against Perth Scorchers in Hobart. There's a medium chance of showers and only 20 degrees. If the showers aren't around, it will be overcast. Great for fast bowling.
I mean, usually over for anybody who isn't kind of a regular cricket player or hasn't been exposed to it much. When it is overcast and the weather is overcast, the ball tends to swing a lot more. And also we find that in terms of what pitches look like, depending on the preparation in the lead up, if you've had a lot of rain in the lead up to a game, which I don't think Hobart have, so it should be okay. The wicket should be all right. But I know that Hobart or Bloodstone Arena or whatever they call their arena now is usually not the most amazing wicket to bat at. So we could see a little bit of juice in this wicket. And when you've got the overheads overcast, the ball's going to be swinging. It's going to be a pretty nice place to bowl. And when you've got the pace bowling lineup that the Perth Scorchers have, I tell you what, your Berendorfs, your Tyres, your Richardsons, the Lance Morris, these guys are going to be doing they're going to be reaping havoc.
Did you know that stadium's now called Ninja Stadium?
Is it? Really?
I just Googled it then. Yep.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Well, yeah. Good. Whoever chose that name, go punch yourself in the nose. Anyway, Sydney, the Sydney Derby, Sydney Thunder versus the Sixers. What's it called? The Sydney Bash, is it?
Yeah.
Sydney Smash. 28 degrees and sunny. Nothing to worry about there. Brisbane Heat versus Adelaide Strikers up at the Gabba. It's going to be nice and sunny, 31 degrees there. And the Renegades versus Perth. Didn't even need to look at the weather. It's at Marvel. They're playing inside. Who cares?
Are we going to hit the question at Marvel is, are we going to see a six hit the roof again?
Yes. With Josh Brown and Fraser McGurk opening the batting, something's going to hit the roof. If it's not a ball, it'll be one of their sticks.
Yeah, it will be. They swing pretty hard. Laurie Evans as well. Don't count him out. Tim Seifert, they all hit a big ball. That top four. And Jacob Bethel now probably in the form of his life, now playing for England at Test cricket. So, they've got a pretty bloody dangerous top five. That Renegades top five could be anything. So the good thing is weather shouldn't impact us too much except for the Hobart-Perth game. And the good thing about the Perth game is that it's their first game of the week, not their second. If it was their second game of the week and we knew that there was a bit of weather around for the second game of the double, those players lock on their first game. So that would be a big issue for us moving forward if there was going to be rain, because you'd have to kind of treat them as a bye on a single, looking at it like that. And then if you got the second game, it's a bonus. So at least we'll be able to pivot. Worst case scenario, we get a bit of rain, the game's shortened or whatever. And obviously everybody in the Patreon will find out the tactics around how we manage that when we get shortened games. But let's talk first game of the round, mate. We've got Friday, 7:15, Stars and Strikers in the first game of the round. So the Stars have played 3 games within, 6 days? So, that's a pretty heavy schedule. Maxwell due back for this one, but it is at Adelaide Oval, like you mentioned. Do you see many changes to their 11, mate? Because at the moment I see what the Strikers look like the other night with Fabian Allen coming out of this team and with Ollie Pope due back. The way that I kind of see it is like this, with Ollie Pope coming in at 4 to replace Nielsen. And I see Darcy Short coming into this team as well, just off the back of the fact that I think they need an extra batsman.
I think they do.
In that top 6. When you got Jamie Overton at 6 as fucking awesome as he was the other night, I think you need another recognised bat. I think you just got way too many bowlers, especially when Matt Short and Darcy Short can also bowl spin. So I've gone with Darcy Short, Alex Ross at 6, Overton slides to 7, and then you've got Doggett pending him being held in the squad. You could have Buckingham there as well, depending on Doggett. You've got Thornton, Boyce, and Pope. Now, obviously, the Adelaide boys weren't too impressive. The spinners, I should say, weren't too impressive the other night. Do you see them making a change to that, or do you think they're just going to stick strong with both leggies?
I don't think you could drop Lloyd Pope as bad as that over was against Daniel Sams. Yeah, I think they stick with both of them still. Yeah,
I think he was pretty much thrown under a bus there, Lloyd Pope. I think that what should have happened in that scenario is that Jamie Overton bowled the most important over in that scenario, which was over 19. It wasn't over 20. Shouldn't have held him for that long. So what did they need? 36 runs off 2 overs? Overton should have put the game beyond doubt after over 19. And then Matt Short should have bowled the 20th himself. So, I think they missed a trick there. But, I mean, I think the question marks are going to come around the Strikers and who we buy from the Strikers. Who do you like? Who are the players that we're looking at from the strikers at the moment, mate? Because I don't love heaps.
No, so Matt Short, Jamie Overton. I like Ollie Pope. I think he's going to come in and make an immediate impact.
Yep.
I'm going to go left field with this one. Cameron Boyce.
Okay.
I don't mind him. He's not a big wicket taker, but he's usually pretty good at getting his economy rate bonus. So if you're looking for someone a little bit cheaper, I don't mind him as an option, but you've already got Henry Thornton. I don't. I ended up trading him out to afford other players. I think he's probably the premium fast bowler that they'll have there, and he'll be bowling death alongside Jamie Overton.
Yeah, agreed. He's definitely the frontline quick in this scenario. So I do like him. I like Overton. Matt Short's an obvious one if you can get to him without tearing your team apart. I'm not as high on Boyce as you are, so I'll probably fade that direction. But yeah, there's not a ton of other guys that I really like at the strikers, and their schedule's so good from here. So
it is.
Yeah, it's
Can
more just
I?
a matter.
I'll throw this to you, mate, as a Matt Short fader, and we've got plenty of them in the chat and in our Patreon. He was at 304k prior to this game. He's dropped, was it 20k from this last game? So he's down to 289. So he's dropped about 15k. So really, it's not that much of a price decrease.
No.
Are you still comfortable in bringing him in for this round, given that he's only dropped 15k?
I think it wasn't always about the money for me. It was about the role. If I was, so when I looked at him in round one, I'm like, cool, 304k, but it was 304k for potentially a guy that was only going to bat and bowl one over. Now I don't think that's going to happen with the Fabian Allen injury. I think that there's every chance that Matt Short bowls three as the third spinner. He's shown his hand to want to open the bowling and bowl that first over as well, which he's done a lot. They're quicks. I mean, James Baisley potentially could help there, but he bowled one over and got fucking smoked everywhere. Thornton and whoever the other quick is, whether it's Doggett, Buckingham or Baisley, will slot in there. But I don't know. I'm not... I feel better about Matt Short's role now, having seen it for a week.
Okay.
And having seen the Fabian Allen injury, I would probably urge people to try and get him if they can. But if it means tearing up your team and getting rid of a Will Sutherland or going Overton to him just because, I don't think you do that. I think if you can make it happen with a downgrade to Constas from one of these guys on like a Seifert to Constas, and then you can do a Fergus O'Neill down to a Baisley if he gets named or something like that, there's your money, which I don't think is tearing your team apart at all.
No,
but
it's not.
Any of these guys on the double, I wouldn't be trading out to get Matt Short. I guess that's probably the best way to explain it. Yeah. Mate, next game, Saturday. Oh, sorry, I didn't give the Stars lineup, did I? Let's quickly have a look at them. Ben Duckett comes back into this one. Glenn Maxwell, I think, is going to open the batting based on conversations I've heard from them and from a few different circles and chats that I'm in. Everybody's kind of thinking that Glenn Maxwell is going to open the batting. I think Bo Webster comes up to 3. I don't know whether they're going to persist with with Harper when Duckett's here. I think Duckett playing as the wicketkeeper up top. Then you've got Bo Webster at 3, Marcus Stoinis at 4. I think Tom Rogers slides back down to 5, just due to the fact that he bats at 5 in Shield for Victoria. Hilton Cartwright to 6, Curran to 7, Mackenzie to 8. Siddle probably comes back in because he's had his game off. I think he'll come back in for the next game because Joel Paris is playing tonight. And then you've got Milne and Couch, I think, who are just going to be the mainstays there at least until the round 3.
That team looks so much better, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, you take Harper out and it looks so much better. Yeah. And then obviously Joe Clark goes as well. And Tom Rogers drops down the order, which I just logically think this is the better way to go. You know, absolutely. I'm not understanding the Bo Webster at 6 thing here for me. I'm probably going to say that he comes back down to 3 just based on what this looks like. So we will see. Now let's move on to the Saturday game, mate. 4 p.m. this one. So we're going to have to be on our game a little bit earlier than normal. Scorchers and Hurricanes at Hobart, a little bit wet. What are we seeing here, mate? Because no Josh Inglis potentially gets held within the test squad again, so not too much should change at this point.
No, you wouldn't have thought so. And thanks to Praying Mantis in the chat. Ninja, as this stadium's named after, they make air fryers. So there you go, mate. There's nothing like a day-old pizza in the air fryer. Tastes just as good. But anyway, back to cricket. Finn Allen, oh, mate, how was he? First ball, bang, 6. Second ball, no
Out.
good.
Yeah. He looked
Keaton
good, though. I'll
Jennings.
tell you what, that one ball that he hit was enough for me.
Oh, it was insane, wasn't it? Can you bring that team back up, please?
Yeah, of course.
Cooper Connolly at 3. Fuck, I love his role, and I'm spewing. I missed out on bringing him in. So he'll be a target of mine, especially without Aaron Hardy. Matt Hurst at 4. Not overly keen on bringing him in because he's on a double and a wicket keeper. Ashton Turner at 5. Hobson at 6. He batted well the other night to finish the innings. Agar at 7. And then the 4-headed monster of Richardson, Ty, Berendorf, who is my number 1 target this week, and Lance Morris.
I like it. Pretty solid team. Not much has changed from last round. I think they'll go with the same team pending the availability of Josh Inglis, who will probably slide up in there to open or potentially just replace Hurst at 4. So that's probably the way I see them going.
For sure.
They're obviously a big target. They're a big talking point this week. How many Scorchers and probably strikers, how many do you think you would want to target next week coming into round 2, both on the double?
My goal is to have 4 of each.
Okay. Yeah, I agreed with that. I've got 5 at the moment. I started with 3 Scorchers and 2 strikers. So I'm thinking about the same. I'm thinking I'm going to target 3 of those guys, and then I'm going to target Sam Constas for the break even, pending he isn't taken into the test squad. So that's probably the way that I'm looking at the moment. We talked about the strikers, the Scorchers. They're going to be hard to beat. Hurricanes aren't necessarily a good team, I don't think, and this is probably the way that I see them lining up. Matt Wade, and we obviously haven't seen first game team here yet, but Matt Wade at opening the batting with Caleb Jewell. We see Shai Hope come in at 3 or 4, pending on scenario. Ben McDermott at 4. Nikhil Chowdhury batted ahead of Tim David in that trial match, so we'll see what they line up like tomorrow. And then we've got Chris Jordan. Now, Paddy Dooley is obviously out of the squad for tomorrow's game. He has not been selected, which I think is strange. Yeah, so we saw Peter Hatzoglou come into this squad. So it could be Hatzoglou and Salamkeel as their spinners, but we'll see what happens tomorrow. And then obviously Nathan Ellis and Riley Meredith are the quicks there with Jordan. So that's not a team I think that can beat the Scorchers. No. But it's not in Perth. So they're more of a chance in their own state than they are if they had to travel across the country.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We'll talk about who we're targeting a little bit later, mate. 7:15, we've got a double header on Saturday, so that'd be nice on the weekend. Sixers and Thunder, the Sydney Smash. This is how we see them lining up. We've got the Sydney Sixers to start with. I think that Ship has maybe shown his hand on Jack Edwards staying at 3, but I'm not quite sure because I think Curtis Patterson could probably come in and replace Hughes or Kerr in this scenario. Now, the reason for that is Jack Edwards didn't bowl his full allotment the other night. It was Abbott and Dwarshuis, but then I don't think Joel Davies has done anything wrong. I think he deserves to hold his spot.
He played well. Yep.
He was awesome. He was fantastic. I think you can probably play 2 spinners and drop Todd Murphy, if I'm completely honest. So the lineup I've gone with is Vincent Philippi at the top, Edwards at 3, Enriques at 4, Silk at 5, and then Patterson at 6. And then I think you can play Davies at 7, Hussain at 8, and then Dwarshuis, Abbott. And Jackson Bird didn't play in game 1. I think you can probably bring Jackson Bird in as that third seamer to replace Hayden Kerr in a way. So, and then you've got your 5 bowlers there, plus you've got Jack Edwards as you've got 6 bowlers to choose from in that lineup. So
for sure,
if I was picking the team, that's probably the way that I'd go. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Jackson Bird or whether they go in a different direction there.
Yep.
Sydney Thunder. Do you want to go through them?
Yeah, I can. David Warner, the captain at number 1. Sam Constas, what a first game. The youngest player to make... No, he's not the youngest player. Made the fastest ever 50 for the Thunder in his first game. Unreal. And this kid has got a huge talent in Australian cricket. Cam Bancroft at 3. Ollie Davies at 4. Billings at 5. Shafane Rutherford didn't really fire a shot the other night, but give the man time at 6. Chris Green, who is quickly becoming one of my favourite BBL players, at 7. Daniel Sams at 8. Wes Agar into the side at 9. Tanvi Sanger at 10. Lockie Ferguson at 11. So we see here that Wes Agar is coming into the side for Nathan McAndrew. Jeez, he bowled past the other night.
I've said it all pre-season and I said it all last year. I'm not a Nathan McAndrew fan. I don't know how he keeps getting picked, and he bowled pretty ordinarily. His first over was okay with the new rock, but the rest of it was terrible. So I think Wes Agar's a better player. I'm struggling to understand why McAndrew's being picked over Agar unless there's an injury that he's working through. So I would say that we'll see that change after the other night.
I think so.
That's my guess. How good were fucking Chris Green and Tanvir Sangha together in
Unreal.
tandem?
They changed the game. They were really, really, really good together.
Yeah, and Chris Green being able to bowl in the power play and in the surge is so valuable, having a spinner to be able to do that. He just never lets you down, Chris Green.
Nope.
So him and Tanvir Sangha looks good again. They're going to be pretty hard to get away. They're going to be a really good combo that bowl in tandem a lot through the BBL, I think, this year. Let me ask you this. Now, Edwards, we've talked about his role a little bit. I think he stays at 3 now. I don't think he's done enough to be dropped. I think he bowls death because Hayden Kerr's not there. But let me ask you this. Moises Henriques. Are people going to get caught?
We're going to get another Jack Edwards question. I was getting myself all giddy.
Sorry, mate.
Okay.
It's too obvious. Just buy Edwards, people. That's the message. But
there you go.
What about Moses Henriques? Should people buy him?
I think he's a trap. The other night, yes, he made 50 odd off not many, but that's as clean a striking of the ball that he has put up in 4 or 5 years, Braino.
I don't remember the last time he hit him that well.
No.
In saying that, though, he does face Zamps a lot. Like, they obviously started at New South Wales together, and now Zamps is back in Sydney. So they know each other back to front. So I think Moses and his experience probably got on top of Zamps a little bit there.
Yep.
But I'm not buying him. Now he'll be over 100K, I would say, based on the score he got. Not bowling at all, will not bowl. Probably guarantee you won't bowl an over at all this BBL. Yeah, no thanks. Not a chance. Anything else to cover on the Sydney Sixers and the Thunder? The Sixers obviously have the double in round 3, so they'll be a lot more of a conversation point next week.
Yeah. The only thing for me is I hope Constas stays in the BBL long enough for us to generate some good cash out of him.
Yeah, that would be nice. Fingers crossed. Fuck, you look good. So, yeah, he's a guy that I'm going to be targeting next week, and I think everybody else should if you missed him. He's 47% owned, and he should be 70% owned, I think, as of next week.
For sure.
Just as an enabler to find that cash and make money, which is also very important in BBL SuperCoach.
Yes,
now, let's move on to the Strikers and the Heat. We've already previewed the Strikers team, but we've got a little bit of an early look at the Heat tonight, but they were decimated with injuries. So we've got to ask the question now, do they get Johnson back? Nice is not going to be back till mid-January. Does Munro fit back in? Does Allsop? Is he going to be good to go? How much time do they have to get ready for this?
2 overs gone in the Brisbane Heat innings. They're none for 20, and Jack Edwards is 14 off 7 rocks. Jack Wood, is 14 off 7, and Jimmy Pearson is 0 not out off 7 balls. So he's doing his best Joe Clark impersonation.
I mean, you said Jack Edwards. It does have Jack Edwards in his name. It's just Jack Wood. There's no Ed and there's no S at the end. So not bad.
I've got him on my mind.
Yeah, I can imagine. The bowling is questionable, but I was also thinking Wildermuth was going to play as that bat bowl all-rounder. He would have been a perfect pick and was quite popular in Twitter circles anyway. And then we've seen Prestwidge get picked tonight, and he was actually quite good. So I think he's going to hold that spot as the Nisa replacement until he comes back in mid-January.
Yeah.
Would you pick him up?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. But late mail, Jack Wood's opening the batting.
Yeah, there's a story behind that for anybody who doesn't know.
There's a great story.
Our friend Matrix in the chat last year gave us a bit of an inside scoop because he is friends with a few of the guys that know Jack Wood in group chats and things like that. And Jack Wood wound his mates up last year pre-game and said, hey, I'm going to open the batting. So Matrix has gone, cool, I've got this inside scoop for the boys. Sends it across to us. Jack Edwards wasn't even named in the first game.
Jack Wood. Yeah, you're
Jack
right.
Wood. Yeah, I've got him on my mind too. Jack Wood wasn't even named in the first game, made us look like mugs. So thanks, shout out Matrix in the chat. But he was 12 months late on his news, but it came true.
Yep. Thanks, dickhead. Anyway.
Let's get back to it, mate. Let's preview the Heat lineup for next week, or our predicted Heat lineup for round 2. Jimmy Pearson opened the batting today with Jack Wood. I think that continues. Now, obviously, Munro comes in for Wood if he is fit. I'm not quite sure whether you can recover from a hamstring strain that quickly, though. So I think he might miss a little bit of time, maybe 2-3 games. Matt Renshaw at 3. Allsop again, if he's not out. I think, who was it that replaced him? Was it Drew tonight? I think it's someone Drew. Brad Drew, something like that.
I'll have a look.
Anyway, whoever it is, he'll replace him. Daniel Drew. Daniel Drew tonight is batting at 4 to replace Tom Alsop because he didn't fit enough. Max Bryant at 5 said on the commentary today, because they had the mic on him, he said that 5's his spot all year. So we can probably expect Jimmy Pearson to continue to open the batting with Colin Munro for the rest of the year. So that creates a bit of an interesting wicketkeeper conversation for round 3 too.
Yeah, it does. How confident are you in Jimmy Pearson retaining a spot?
Pretty confident.
Okay.
I don't see him. I mean, he's the wicketkeeper in this squad, so I don't see him losing his spot. And if they're starting with him opening the batting here, I think that's going to continue personally.
Okay.
Paul Walter at 6. Prestwich seems to have the Nessa role at 7, and then you've got Bartlett. Spencer Johnson, obviously, if he's fit. If not, they've got that young local replacement player playing tonight, Whitney. He looked okay. And then Swepson and Kuhneman are the spinners. So that's probably the way that I see them lining up against the strikers for game 2 for the strikers. Talk to me about Xavier Bartlett, mate, because he's probably going to be the main conversation point, isn't he, coming into the double for the Heat?
I really rate him. He's a sensational bowler. Lines, lengths, his change of pace. What did he get tonight? Was it 2 for 24? 3 for 25 off 4 overs. Just unreal bowling. He's someone that we are definitely targeting come their double.
He'll probably cover his break even this week at 200K. So, yeah, he's a guy you're going to want. I was hoping he was going to drop cash. We've just got news as well that Joe Clark's gone off the field with a hamstring injury. So he just wanted to get to the pub early. So it looks like he's going to be going home a little bit earlier than planned. Old Joe
This
Clark.
was his last game as well, so well played that man.
Yep, absolutely. So, yeah, Bartlett's a big yes for me in round 3. But round 3 is tricky because we've got 3 teams on the double. We've got the Stars, we've got the Heat, and we've got the Sixers. Like, there's so many really relevant options there for round 3. We're going to have to get Maxwell back if his role's good at 230, 40K. Bartlett's at 200K. Paul Walter is at 180K. Who else? You know, you've got a lot of other options there. Philippi, probably 120K. You might get him cheap. Jack Edwards, if they let him slide for round 3, he'll be pretty expensive by then. There's a lot of cash to be spent in round 3, and you're going to have to probably use your boost in. I would recommend everybody use their boost.
There's a bit going on. Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll have to talk about that next week. That'll be a big talking point. But looks like Jack Wood is the Munro replacement. So hopefully no one jumped on Jack Wood, because I don't think he's the option there. He's going to drop straight out of this team when Colin Munro comes back in, unfortunately. Last game, mate, Monday. Scorchers, Renegades. We know Marvel loves spin, and spin loves Marvel. So we're going to see Zampa. We're going to see, who else have we got? Cooper Connolly, Ashton Agar are probably going to feast there. They're going to be targets for next week. Cooper Connolly, I don't know about Ashton Agar, but what about the Renegades, mate? Zampa. What does Bethel bowl? Does he bowl spin?
Not much.
Okay.
Will Sutherland actually bowls quite well at Marvel as well.
The Chief. Horse will tell you in the chat, because we just hop in a group chat and just kind of watch the game together. I reckon I said the Chief about maybe 50 times the other night.
Overs.
Yeah. Unders, you mean? Definitely. Unders, it was more than that.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think I like the Renegades team here much more than I did the other night, but we see Jacob Bethel come in at number 4 there. Top 3 stays the same. Fraser McGurk and Brown opening with Seifert at 3. And then Laurie Evans at 5. Mac Harvey just drops down to 6. It's either him or John O'Wells that'll bat 6. And then we'll see the Chief at 7, Rogers, O'Neill, Richardson, Zampa.
I want to talk to you about that, mate. Number 6. So Mac Harvey there at 6.
Yep.
After the way that they blasted off to a fantastic start and then lost a heap of wickets, do you see more value in a John O'Wells who can anchor an innings to be at 6 over, say, a Mac Harvey who is quite similar to your Browns and your Fraser McGurks and the likes that just love hitting bombs?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that they need some sort of anchor role. And Seifert did it the other night, but he didn't want to. And I tell you what, he tried his fucking best to get out about 3 or 4 times there. Seifert top edging one over the top and missing 5 reverse sweeps. So any of those reverse sweeps could have been top edge straight to backward point. For me, I just got thrown off Webster's bowling tonight. So that's great news. I I just think they need an anchor. They need someone to control the innings. They need someone to control the pace of the innings and make sure that things don't fall apart at the other end. And that's Jono Wells. That's a perfect Jono Wells role. I don't know whether that role suits Mac Harvey at all. He's a goer.
It doesn't.
So, doesn't have that in him. Do you reckon that the Gades, the openers, or let's just say the top three, can actually pace an innings? Or do you reckon they're just told to go out and swing as hard as they can, get off to a good start?
Yep.
Does that make them less relevant in the Supercoach aspect, or are you still pretty happy with what you've seen from both of them?
No, I'm not happy at all. No, I'm happy that Brown got to 47 or whatever it was the other night. I am an owner of Mr. Brown. I don't own Fraser McGurk, but they both have shown an inability to control their innings. And by that, I mean, you've spoken about it before, the different levels of knowing when to go and when to be conservative. It's just ball at a gate, let's go. Let's get to 100 off 20 balls if I can, sort of thing. So until they both learn how to control innings or controlled aggression, it's just a shut your eyes, hit and hope, and hope for the best. And
you cannot do that against the Scorchers. You just can't. You can't just go hard at the Scorchers because they will find you out. You've got 4 world-class top-shelf quicks that one will just work you over. You know, we saw that Sean Abbott came on, first ball, slower ball to Fraser McGurk, and he just carelessly top edge one. That was the end of him. And Sean Abbott's a smart cricketer. He knows what he needs to do. I think Jai Richardson, Andrew Tye, these guys have been doing this for a very long time. I don't think Fraser McGurk's going to get one over them.
You think of Berendorf, the way left armour, tall action, swinging them away from the right-handers. He's just a world-class bowler, isn't he?
He is. It's definitely, something we're going to have to look at. But talk to us. Let's move in. Actually, I probably should play the stinger first, shouldn't I? Well, let's talk about trade targets for next week.
Targets acquired.
I want to skip straight to a guy named Jason Berendorf because you've got a really cool stat. Shout out to Deadly who brought this to our attention. Talk to us about why you're targeting Jason Berendorf next week.
I'll keep it fairly simple. He averages over his lifetime in Hobart 74 Supercoach points, and in his last 3 games, he averages 93 Supercoach points in Hobart.
Ooh, and what about the second game? Because he actually has a pretty healthy average against the team that he plays second to, doesn't he, against the Renegades?
Well, funny you should say that because that's his second highest average of 67 Supercoach points per game against the Renegades. So he loves playing both these teams. I'll do a quick stat check as well at venue. At Marvel Stadium, he's played there 7 times for an average of 64 Supercoach points per game.
Oof. All right. Well, make way for Jason Berendorf in your teams this week if you want to get ahead. Hopefully you've already got Jai Richo. Otherwise, just get both. Because that could be the play leaning into these Perth quicks this week. Let's talk about the most owned guys that are going to be targets for next week. One is Matt Short, bit of an obvious one. If you have the coin, I'll preface that with, if you have to rip your team apart, I would not buy him. But if you can, I'd get him because I think he's going to be a guy that has a better role now from Fabian Allen. We spoke about that earlier. Who's number 2 on the list, mate?
Sammy Constas, almost 50% owned. You're just going to need him with that. What did you say before? Negative 58 break even?
Yeah, it'll be mid-50s negative next week, which means that he will step on the field and make you about 25K, 20K? A little bit less than 20K. He'll step on the field and do nothing for you and make about 18K.
He could be as good as John O'Merlo and he's going to make you a lot of money.
Yeah, good shout. Jamie Overton's the next one, mate. 26.2% own him. Yep. That should be 50% by next week, I'd like to think. He, unfortunately, for people that faded him, you're going to have to pay an extra 10K for him, but 215K is still fine for Jamie Overton on a double. We saw the role. He bats at 6 or 7. He'll bowl his 4 overs. He'll bowl surge. He'll bowl death. You just need him in your team. Who's next? Cooper
Conley, 30% owned. I personally expect that to creep up around 50% next round, especially if he's batting at 3 again.
Yep, agreed. I'm thankful that I went with him early, and we were speaking about this the other night. If I picked Matt Short round 1, I wouldn't have Connolly and I wouldn't have Jack Edwards or Will Sutherland, one of them. So, all 3 of those guys perform really well. So that fade has played off. quite well for round 1, and let's see if I can make the team work and get him in round 2 if I need to.
That's a really good point, mate. You say that you got Cooper Connolly and Will Sutherland. I couldn't afford either because I went with Matt Short. So for this round, it has worked out well.
For sure. And I got Jack Edwards on my bench and Henry Thornton on my bench. I didn't play this week. So my team my team's really deep at the moment, thanks to not starting with Matt Short. But now it creates a problem that not a lot of people have in round 2, whereas I have to decide whether I need to get him or not. So we'll make that choice, and I'll update everybody in the Patreon on my final moves. Fifth, most owned, and the guy you need this week is Jai Richardson. I don't really need to explain myself on that. We saw how deadly he was the other night. 3 for 19 off his 4 overs the other night. Looked good. You just need him, I think, in your team. So those are the 5 well-owned guys that you're going to need. Now let's talk pods, mate. Under-owned guys on the double that we're looking at ahead of this week. The lowest owned is Cam Boyce, and you said earlier you were keen on him. So you want to run with this. What do you love about Cam Boyce?
5 out of 8 games last year, he got the maximum economy rate bonus. He knows how to tie an end down. If we saw, or for those of you that are watching the cricket tonight, he bowls a lot like Swepson, changes up his pace quite well. He doesn't bowl into the batsman's hitting areas. He does his research quite well, and you never really see him go for bulk runs. So at 2.8%, that could be a really solid pod play if you can't go to the heights of your Matt Shorts and that. Mate, your man that you've got sitting on your bench, Finn Allen at 12%. I know 6 and out doesn't look great, but he's got to be a target this week, doesn't he?
Yeah, I reckon you would be as scared fading Finn Allen on a double than you would be fading Matt Short.
Yeah.
Because imagine what Finn Allen can do if he gets 30 balls at the crease. He'll be on 60.
How big is the bloke?
He's a monster. We were talking about this the other night, and who did he walk past?
He walked past Marcus Stoinis and made him look like Ben Duckett.
Yeah. He made him look like a little midget. So craziness. Finn Allen is another very big target. He's only 12% owned. So definitely a guy you want to look at. I wanted to get ahead, which is why I started with him. I wanted to get ahead on the double so that I could then target another Scorcher or striker around that price point. Jason Behrendorff is the second one for obvious reasons. We explained that. AJ Tye, another one. Interesting. His role's a bit of a question though, isn't it? Because he didn't bowl the final over. Behrendorff did.
Yeah, a bit odd. Usually he's the one that bowls death, but yeah, it was Behrendorff. Do you reckon that was because they probably just weren't coming out as well?
Potentially.
Or do you think it could? Yeah.
Sorry, he bowled 3 overs, none for 30. So didn't actually bowl that well the other night.
That's what I put it down to anyway. Yeah.
I think he'll be relied upon to bowl death at some point, but it just creates question marks, doesn't it?
It does.
Who else have we got, mate?
Henry Thornton at 12.7%. You've already got him. He should be someone that we are targeting, as he will bowl death with Jamie Overton.
Josh Inglis is the one that you will want if he is available. Now, there is obviously risk there with the head injury, or Travis head injury, I should say, not concussion. So the problem is we're going to have to wait to get news on whether he gets retained within the test squad or what's happening there in the lead up to the Melbourne Boxing Day test. So stay tuned on the news there. We'll keep everybody up to date inside Patreon. And those are the guys that you need to look at for this coming week. Pods and well-owned guys that you need to keep up with the rest of the field. Now, let's talk about our game day squad of the week, mate. Brought to you by the Game Day Squad for obvious reasons. Now, if you haven't started or downloaded the app or given it a go or heard of Game Day Squad, then you should. Download the app now. All you need to do is pop the code in IFS AUS and you'll get yourself a three-player rare pack to get your squad started. Now, Horse, how's your Game Day Squad been going to start things off? We're obviously 4 games into the season now. You've joined the mini league that we've got going on.
Yep.
How's the squad looking so far? You got a semi-conscious gold in there?
I do. So pretty happy with that. I do have a platinum Lloyd Pope, which I was a little bit excited about, but he shit the bed late. So that hurt me. But I'm quietly confident with my team. Do I think it's the best going around? No, because we do have some ripping teams in there from the community, but fairly happy. I think I'll be able to win myself some prize money at some stage throughout the year.
Yep, absolutely. So with Game Day Squad, we're going to give you our squad of the week. And our squad of the week, of course, is just basically one player per position, and we'll see how it stacks up. Now, we've got to wait for this round to go through before we have a look at how last week's went. But this is our squad for game 2. Josh Inglis, if he is named at wicketkeeper, we'll reassess if he's not named. Then we've got at bat wicketkeeper position, we've got Chris Lynn, we've got Finn Allen, and we've got Sam Constas there in the bat position. Your all-rounders to target this week, Matt Short, Jamie Overton, Cooper Connolly, and Jack Edwards. And then in your bowlers slot, we've got Jason Behrendorff, Akil Hussain comes in for the Sixers, and we've got Henry Thornton as well. Now, you'll notice not everybody's on the double in the game day squad. Horse, do you want to explain why it's not overly that important to pick players on doubles for game day squad?
Very easy, ladies and gentlemen. It is because only one game counts. So effectively, if you're on a double game week, only the best score of those 2 games count towards your game day score.
Which I like. It opens the game up a little bit more now, where you don't just you have the same team and you chase the same players that are all on the double. You can take on guys that are on a single if you think that they're going to outscore in that game one of the best games from a double game player. So I do like the flexibility there. You can win some prizes if you join the mini league. So all you need to do is jump in the Patreon, become a free member, and you'll see the mini league code in there that you can join and get involved and take us on inside Game Day Squad. And if you're a gambler like us, maybe you want to hop in the store. Maybe you want to buy a card or trade for a card or open some packs and see if you get lucky. What's the biggest pack pull that you've had so far, Horse?
Lloyd Pope Platinum. That's the big one that I've had. But, yeah, he shit the bed. So not overly happy this week, but no doubt he'll bounce back. Old Popey boy.
I'm sure he'll be in your squad next week on the double too. Get 2 cracks at it and see how he goes.
Yep.
Very good. Guys, get involved. Like I said, download the app Game Day Squad, and then all you need to do, put in the code IFSAUS, and you'll get your 3-player rare pack via email within 48 hours of joining. You can use the coupon code, claim your packs, and get that squad started and take us on. Thanks to Game Day Squad for sponsoring the podcast.
Spot on.
Let's move into captaincy, mate, before we wrap things up.
Are you ready, kids?
Aye, aye, Captain!
Pretty fucking obvious this week, isn't it, really?
Get all out, try and outthink the room. Your VC look right from the start. Matt Short, Jamie Overton. Not even going to mention anyone else's name. And for your captaincy, if your VC doesn't come off, I'm going to give you 3 names. Feel free to get any other names that you may see fit, Braino, but Jai Richardson, Big Behrendorff, or Cooper Connolly after his 100 this week. Pretty good captaincy options.
Yeah, I like Connolly's role, especially if he stays at 3 and there's no Inglis. Like, obviously, he's going to be there for Hardy, I would assume. As long as Hardy's out, we'll see Connolly bat at 3.
Yep.
But, he's definitely a big shout. It's nearly impossible to go away from these 5 players we've just mentioned, really. I think Finn Allen's probably too risky as a batsman only, as a captain.
Yep.
As a vice captain, I'd be more than happy to go on a bat only with a higher ceiling, but just as my pure captain, if my VC miraculously doesn't come off and Overton or Short shit the bed, I don't want to rely on a batsman who could get a good seed. So I'm looking at your Richos, your Behrendorffs, your Connollys, your AJ Tyres if you got him. Those are the guys that I think are going to perform on the double this week. But don't try and outthink the room this next week. I think the obvious answer is often the best one, especially at the start of the season. You don't want to get too spicy too early on. You can start making your pod moves a little bit later. But, mate, who's playing first that we can emergency and get a bit of a free swing at to start?
Melbourne Stars players. So they're on the double this week. They're on the double in round 3. They're on the single in round 2. Are we going to trade some out? Yes, but you're going to want to keep a couple in. 1, to have for round 3, but 2, you can use them as your emergency loop for this week. So as we've just seen, Jack Wood bowled by Mackenzie. If he can get another couple of wickets tonight, we'll see his price skyrocket.
Absolutely. Very good signs. And Scud TV asking if Khan is unavailable. He's officially unavailable as of now. So Bethel's going to come in and replace Khan. He wasn't named in the 14-man squad to play tomorrow. So we won't see Hassan Khan anymore at all. He's been replaced by Bethel and the reason for that, for anybody who isn't aware, is you can't play more than 3 internationals in your team of 11.
That's right.
So because Bethel's come across, they've got Laurie Evans, and then they've also got, who am I missing?
Seifert.
They can't, obviously, Khan becomes the 4th. So he was named as the Bethel replacement. Now that Bethel's back, Khan is gone. So hopefully you didn't start with him, mate. Fingers crossed. DNP's a salesman, Doran. Anybody else screaming out to you that you can use as loopholes? Hopefully those are the two you're locked in.
No, probably not. Oh, there's Liam Scott from the Strikers, but as we've heard recently, he may well come into the squad during the double.
Yeah, apparently he's been in good form locally.
Really good form. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see how he goes. Keep an eye out on him. But I think it's safe to say that we won't see Salzman play or Doran for the short term anyway. So they're probably your two best options until round 4. Where Salzman then will start playing the Thunder, will start playing the first game of the round a lot, where your loophole becomes irrelevant. So you might have to make a decision then to get rid of him to another loop, potentially. But we'll talk about that then. Horse, what have we got cooked up for the Patreon in between rounds 1 and rounds 2? We've got a bit going on.
Oh, heaps, mate. We've got write-ups on each game that we're doing. So we go through the hot guys, the cold guys, and the questions that come out of each game. Then for us, we're talking about our trade-in targets, our trade-out targets. We're pretty open and transparent in there, showing the money that we've got, the money that we've got left over. And we're available pretty much any time of the day, where if you guys at home have got any questions, both you and I are we're in there pretty frequently to answer all of them to help out our community.
Yeah, we do a Q&A segment every single week as well, where we come on and we pop on and answer every single question that our Patreon subscribers have. We'll also be doing a buy, hold, sell article coming up on who you should target, who you should hold on to, who you should move on, as well as a captain's article and plenty more stuff in there that only our subscribers get. So if you want to become a subscriber, $6 a month. There's only like 6 weeks left of BBL anyway, so pay for the month, get your season set up, and then you're good to go. And the link is in the description below. Horse, I think we're all done, mate.
I think we are. It's been good, mate. We've got a double header this Saturday night, so kick back, a couple of stubwars thanks to the standard squeeze, and enjoy some cricket.
Absolutely. Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for hopping on. Hit subscribe and like if you haven't done that yet. Follow and review if you're listening to us on audio. Jump in the Patreon to get more access to us. We'll see you for the round 3 preview, round 2 wrap-up in about, 4 or 5 days' time?
Yes, Sunday, I reckon. Sunday, Monday. Yep.
Sounds good. All right, guys, good luck for round 2 and hopefully plenty of green arrows for round 1. Catch you then.